Okay. So welcome to this session on scaffolding. We're going to divide it into two parts. We'll have a break at about 6:25 for about 5 minutes, so you can go to the bathroom and so on. Lots of interesting material. We're going to look at key concepts in scaffolding. We're going to be looking at scaffolding, children's understanding and use of language. So that's going to be more focused on the spoken language. And then we'll look at graphic organizers, which is to do with writing. And finally, we'll have a little sort of self-test. Won't take very long. So welcome. Let's get started. How about let's start with a PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. Oops. All right, so this idea of scaffolding, it's a metaphor. All right. So what does the term scaffolding mean in education? Okay, I'd like you to try to write a definition in the chat box. And it could be either in Spanish or in English, whichever you prefer. Puede ser en español or in English. Okay. What does scaffolding mean in education? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about it and try and write your definition in the chat. Any questions? That's right. Scaffolding is andamios, right? But what does that mean in terms of education, andamios? Da elementos para un aprendizaje. Could be. What kind of what do you mean by elementals, though? A structure, right? It's all about giving structure, isn't it? Yeah. Structure or support. Well, it might start off with that's right, información básica. So we start from a low level and we go higher, don't we? There's something that starts as quite basic and then gets more sophisticated. All right. There are elements of that are correct. So I'm going to put the Cambridge definition from the materials I'm taking are from a lot of the materials I'm taking this from are from the Cambridge TKT for young learners. Okay. And here's their definition from Cambridge Assessment. So they say scaffolding refers to different ways in which teachers support children's learning and understanding through language and action. It is the process by which an expert provides temporary support to learners to help bridge the gap between what the learner knows and can do and what he needs to accomplish in order to succeed at a particular task. So its key words are support, learning, and through language and action. It's not just language. It can be just language, but it's also actions. And it's, another word is temporary support and to accomplish, to succeed at a particular task. Any questions so far? All right with that? All right, now I'm going to give you a little task to do. I'm not sure if you'll be able to do it on your cell phone, but maybe on, if one of you has a laptop, so we said scaffolding was about the way that we use language to support students, right? And partly that's true. So I want you to help me to divide these sticky notes into two. So some are teacher language and some are teaching strategies. All right, so here's an example of teacher language. All right, teacher language would be supporting language with gestures and your facial expressions. All right. So that's an example of teacher language. A teaching strategy, an example would be demonstrating how to do an activity with a model or an example. Okay, so I'd like you two, please to help me divide these sticky notes into teacher language and teaching strategies. So I'm going to give you the link here. See if you can access it. Now, Noel, you may not be able to do this, but Leonardo and I may be able to help you. So we've got to divide them into two groups. All right, so you think that's right, okay? So
I don't know if is correct, but I know about that.
well, using language at the children's level, that would be language, right? So let's move that one there. Oh, sorry, I just need to. Okay. Just to check the answer. So that using language at children's level is teacher language, for sure. Right? What else is correct here? Yeah, allowing wait time after asking a question, that's also teacher language, correct. Using varied question forms, that's also teacher language. Varying the delivery of language is also teacher language. Correcting, that's also a language. So those other ones are teaching strategies. Demonstrating or using a model is a teaching strategy because it's more focused on the teaching than the actual language. Yeah, that one is also teaching. Oh, we're missing one actually. Maybe it got deleted by mistake. So one should be using L1 when appropriate. What does L1 mean? In your context, what does L1 mean? What's L2? Any idea what L1 is? Spanish, right? L1 means first language, yeah? Yeah, so.
¿Nivel de inglés? ¿Se refiere al nivel de inglés?
No, using L1 when appropriate is a way of scaffolding, right? Is giving support to the students. Do you think that's a good idea? Sometimes using Spanish in the English class? Could be, no? Because sometimes we need to provide support to students, and sometimes that means using a little bit of Spanish, right? So L1. So the rest of these are what we call teaching strategies. So demonstrating a model, for example, demonstrating using a model, or example, creating opportunities for learning using the 5 senses. creating or clear or familiar context for an activity, using visual support, revising language that children need for a task. Now we can match the green ones. We can change these colors. Let's change them so that they are now all recognized as teaching strategies. Now, can we match pink with the green? So, using language at children's level, can we think of a teaching strategy that matches that from here, from the pink? How about this? This could be a teaching strategy to match that, right? Creating a clear or familiar contexto conocido for an activity, right? What about using L1 when appropriate? Tell you what, I actually don't know all of these match, so I'm going to stop that one. But I think we've established that there's teacher language and there's teaching strategies. So I'm going to give you a handout. Yeah. Before we do the handout, there's one more thing. So I'll just show you this PowerPoint here. Here's some examples of teaching strategies. So creating a clear or familiar context for an activity. An example of that could be personalizing a topic and language. For the teaching strategy of using visual aids to support language, we could use masks, right, to role play story characters. In the focusing on visible objects, actions, and information, we could play mind games to learn action verbs, like when we for creating opportunities for learning through the 5 senses, we could do listening and do activities such as color dictations to review the topic of clothes. For revising language that children need for a task, we could use flashcards of animals for a listening task about pets. Flashcards are like pictures with the animals on them. For demonstrating using a model or example, we could prepare a finger puppet before making one to practice greetings. So, other examples of scaffolding using language are adjusting the language to the children's level. We can move from known to unknown in an activity. We can relate activities to children's experience. We can use visual aids like word banks, language frames, substitution tables, sentence starters, speech bubbles, and different kinds of charts, diagrams, and grids to support input and output. Just take a pause there. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of terminology here because it's going to come up later. So I'm going to share with you a handout. And we've got to match some of these terms on the left with the definitions on the right, A to H. I'm going to share with you the handout. And I'd like you to work individually to match the terms with the definitions. Let's do the first one as an example. So, what do you think reformulating is? Again, these are all ways that we can support pupils, students with language. So, what is reformulating? Have a look on the list here.
Letra E. Maybe?
Yes, yes. That's correct. So it's an indirect way of correcting language, such as when parents correct their children. For example, a teacher can correct what a child says by repeating the sentence correctly without drawing attention to it. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, I reckon, to try to do this yourself. Match the terms with the definitions, all right? Give you 3 minutes starting now. If you're done, you can post your answers in the chat now. You can write your answers in the chat. All right, it's okay. Give you a bit more time. I can give you 30 seconds more. All right, let's work through this together then. So, prompting. What would that be? Prompting is like giving clues, isn't it? Yeah, it would be, so 2 would be not G, but in fact H. So that's where teachers help learners think of ideas and remember words or phrases and correct language by saying part of the word. Like P for prompting. Or by giving another type of clue. All right, so error correcting, what would that be? Any ideas? That's D, yeah. So 3's D. Rising intonation to show something is wrong. Like, really? Encourage self-correction. Defining. Pick you one. Defining is no, not G. F, isn't it? Yeah, quite right. And giving an example, not too different from defining. There's a bit of a giveaway. Number 5. It's using an example of language to show its meaning. Yeah. How about demonstrating? What could demonstrating be? Could it be, we've used this letter before, so it could be G again, couldn't it? Yeah. Demonstrating, yes, G. So the thing about demonstrating is that we often use actions or models to make our demonstration more vivid to the students, more memorable, right? So that would be G. Yeah. Showing the meaning of words or phrases through using models, actions, or picture sequences. Ignoring an error. 7A, yeah, so that might be when we're focusing on meaning, and perhaps we want the students to speak, develop their fluency. We're not so bothered about grammatical accuracy. So then we have that would be 7A. We might deliberately ignore an error. No, it's possible. It's a pretty good teaching strategy. Okay, we've got 2 more people coming in. Welcome, Fermin. And welcome, Yolanda.
Welcome.
Now, welcome to the both of you.
Good afternoon.
Now, the materials are in Spanish, in English, but you can use Spanish if you wish, all right, to talk about them. Because the main thing is that you understand the concepts. It doesn't really matter whether you understand the concepts in Spanish or understand the concepts in English. The important thing is that we get the concepts, right? So I'm going to share with you the handout for the session so far. It's coming into the chat now. Please click on the button. There's a recording, so at the end of the session you can go back and see the recording. Yeah? So, key concepts in scaffolding. The final one is asking an open question. Which one would that be? Which one haven't we used? Yeah, it's C. Yeah, it needs to be C. Yeah, correct. 8 is C. C. Right, so that's open questions. Start with how, when, where, why, what, which. and they require a long answer. Closed questions, starting with do, does, or did, are followed by yes or no answers. Which do you think are easier to answer, generally? Which are easier for your students, do you think? Open questions or closed questions? Think about when you ask them in English.
I think close question.
Closed questions are easier or more difficult?
Easier.
Easier, yes. Yeah. So when we're scaffolding, when we're building up the student's idea of a language item, we could start with yes, no questions because they're easier to answer. Right? Ah. I think now what we should do, I've got a little video for you from our materials that are on the platform. And as we watch the video, I've got a task for us to do. Okay. So give me a second. So we'll watch a video and it's about 5 ways that we can develop scaffolding in the classroom. How best to put it into practice. Okay. So at the top, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 numbers. Okay. And we've got to watch the video and put these tips in the right order. So if you think that teach key vocabulary first goes there in number 1, okay, then you just move it underneath the number. Okay. So we're all going to work together as a foursome. Oh, actually, let's make it a bit more challenging. Let's have Fermin and Yolanda work together. Okay. And we'll have Leonardo and Noel work together. So you get used to using these this Jamboard. So here is the link to the Jamboard. Coming into chat now. Okay, so Fermin and Yolanda, you are on slide 1. Leonardo and Noel, you are on slide 2. Ah, we've got Jose joining us. Welcome, Jose. Jose, you can help us with slide. Welcome, Jose. Today's session, as we've mentioned, is on the topic of scaffolding. It's all about how to support learners in the classroom. So I'm going to have you work with Leonardo and Noel, and I'd like you to please access this. Oh, sorry.
Entonces ahorita pues estoy sacado de pedo, ¿no? Entonces, mira, ve si va a hablar.
No te preocupes, José, puedes participar en cualquier capacidad que puedas, okay? Now, please click on the Jamboard, okay? If you can. You may not be able to do this because maybe if you're working from a phone, it's difficult, all right? But some people will be able to do it, okay? Fermín and Yolanda, ¿han podido accesar al Jamboard?
Sí, aquí estoy intentando.
Okay. And
Gracias.
that's okay. That's good. Good. What about Noel and Leonardo?
I'm in the Jamboard.
You're in the Jamboard. Excellent. Are you on the right page though? Are you on? You should be on number two, right? You're on number 2 at the top here. So, check you're on the right page. All right, Noel, ¿puedes or no? Okay, well, we're going to...
No he podido, disculpe.
Doesn't worry. Okay, so Leonardo, you're going to do it for Noel, okay? Jose, you can help as well on slide 2. You're on slide 2. Okay, so we're going to play the video now, and you've got to put these topics in the right order as you see them in the video. Very easy task, okay? Just to get a general idea of the video, okay? So don't worry if you don't get it wrong, if you don't get it right, okay? So I'm going to play the video. And let me just get this ready. Share sound. Optimize for video. There we go. Not right. No, not quite right. Not quite right. I'm going to have to close some. Got too many things open. The problem here. Let's begin. Here we go.
Scaffolding is a term you hear all the time in education, and yet sometimes it feels like we know more about what it looks like in a construction project than in the classroom. Like on a building, scaffolding is a temporary support structure. It supports students so they can better comprehend the material and build more complex skills than they would without help. You gradually take it away as they move toward independence. Here are 5 ways to build scaffolding into your practice to help your students reach new heights. Breaking a task down into manageable steps is an important part of scaffolding. But without a clear picture of their goal, students may struggle to achieve it. Share a model of an essay, a project, or a product so the steps of the process make more sense. When you show students the end game, they'll be able to better visualize what they are working toward. When students know exactly what you expect of them, they'll be more likely to successfully complete a task. Graphic organizers, charts, and to-do lists can help spell out the steps of an assignment and support the development of a student's executive functioning skills. Be sure to state your expectations for each chunk of the work clearly. It may help prevent a student from getting confused or overwhelmed, and then giving up or falling behind. Demonstrating critical thinking skills helps students develop them. Verbalize the inner workings of your own brain with a think aloud, so students hear your thought process as you read a complex text, work on a task, or solve a problem. Sharing your struggles, triumphs, or even your mistakes will let them know that it's all part of the learning journey. Discussing challenging concepts or topics can be a great way for students to reflect on their learning and build on each other's understanding of the material. To encourage academic talk, provide students with sentence starters. It will help them get used to speaking with each other in a more formal way and help them stay on topic. If students don't understand enough of the material they're working with, they may quickly lose interest and feel defeated. Identify key words that will act like lifeboats during your lesson and have students work together to define them beforehand. Resist pulling out the dictionary though. Ask them to use pictures or context clues and discuss in small groups. Only resort to looking words up at the end to compare the definition they have worked out themselves. By providing a structure for each student to work from, you'll be meeting them where they are and setting up the launch pad they need to tackle new learning.
Good. Let's see if you were right. So the first one should have been B, and it was, yes. Followed by E, making expectations clear. Very good. Make your thinking visible is D. Structure the conversation should be 4A, and finally 5C. Yeah, that was pretty easy, wasn't it? That's what we should be doing though with scaffolding. It's going from the easy, the basic, to the more difficult, right? So, Fermin and Yolanda, you had problems, right? Moving yours. So, for the next task, I will help you a bit because I realize you can't move them. 1A, 5B. Good. Now, we heard a couple of words you may not be too familiar with during the first listening, and I should really have defined some of these words before we started. But what would you think? What would you say is a lifeboat? What do you think a lifeboat is? The speaker used the word lifeboat. Does it mean something that would help you to survive? So you're not drowning? Yeah. So a lifeboat is something that it's a support that helps you deal with difficult vocabulary, perhaps. But it's metaphorical, yeah? It's not literal. And a launch pad. Any idea what a launch pad is? You can use Spanish if you wish. Si quieres usar español, no hay problema. Speaker used the word launch pad or expression launch pad. Is it to end something or to start something? Go ahead.
Puede ser Conocimientos previos.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you very well. ¿Puedes repetir? No te escuché.
Lo siento, un conocimiento previo.
Hmm. I think it's metaphorically, it means to provide a starting point, right, from which learning can develop. Yeah? Like a starting point. Um, so let's now what we're going to do is watch the video again. Okay. Now we've got a basic understanding of the video. And we're going to match sentence halves. So it's a bit more sophisticated, the viewing this time. Right? So we've got to match the pink to the green as we watch the second time. Okay. So here's an example. Share a model of an essay. Sorry, that should be just an essay. That was my mistake when I was writing this. Share a model of an essay, a project, or a product, okay? And that matches with a green one, right? So the steps of the process make more sense. Okay, so we're matching parts of sentences together, so it makes more sense. Okay, so but they're all in the audio, so listen carefully. So Fermin and Yolanda, you are on slide 4. Now don't worry if you can't move them, I will help you. Okay. What you could do is take a screenshot. I'll make a note. So Fermin and Yolanda, you're working on slide 4. Leonardo, Jose, and Noel, you are on slide 3. Okay. Here's the link again, the Jamboard. Let's watch. Let's play it again. Sorry. Not better. There we go.
Scaffolding is a term you hear all the time in education, and yet sometimes it feels like we know more about what it looks like in a construction project than in the classroom. Like on a building, scaffolding is a temporary support structure. It supports students so they can better comprehend the material and build more complex skills than they would without help. You gradually take it away as they move toward independence. Here are 5 ways to build scaffolding into your practice to help your students reach new heights. Breaking a task down into manageable steps is an important part of scaffolding. But without a clear picture of their goal, students may struggle to achieve it. Share a model of an essay, a project, or a product so the steps of the process make more sense. When you show students the end game, they'll be able to better visualize what they are working toward. When students know exactly what you expect of them, they'll be more likely to successfully complete a task. Graphic organizers, charts, and to-do lists can help spell out the steps of an assignment and support the development of a student's executive functioning skills. Be sure to state your expectations for each chunk of the work clearly. It may help prevent a student from getting confused or overwhelmed and then giving up or falling behind. Demonstrating critical thinking skills helps students develop them. Verbalize the inner workings of your own brain with a think aloud, so students hear your thought process as you read a complex text, work on a task, or solve a problem. Sharing your struggles, triumphs, or even your mistakes will let them know that it's all part of the learning journey. Discussing challenging concepts or topics can be a great way for students to reflect on their learning and build on each other's understanding of the material. To encourage academic talk, provide students with sentence starters. It will help them get used to speaking with each other in a more formal way and help them stay on topic. If students don't understand enough of the material they're working with, they may quickly lose interest and feel defeated. Identify key words that will act like lifeboats during your lesson and have students work together to define them beforehand. Resist pulling out the dictionary though. Ask them to use pictures or context clues and discuss in small groups. Only resort to looking words up at the end to compare the definition they have worked out themselves. By providing a structure for each student to work from, you'll be meeting them where they are and setting up the launch pad they need to tackle new learning.
All right, I may give you one more chance to watch this, but I'd like you to work together in breakout rooms now. These are like private rooms, and I'm going to have Leonardo and Noel work together, and Yolanda and, is it Fermin still? You're going to work together to discuss which should go together. All right. So, how are we doing so far? Not great, but I'm going to help you. So, that one. Fermin and Yolanda needs to go there. Oops. Don't want that. Okay. Van a platicar juntos in breakout rooms. Please go to the breakout rooms. Five, 2, 6, 1. ¿Quién eres? 52, 46, 1. Welcome back, everyone. So let's just watch one more time, and as we do it, I'll give you we'll do the correct answers. I'll work on Fermin and no, it's Jose and Yolanda's, isn't it? Yeah. And we'll give you the right version. And then we'll take a break. Okay. So, one more time.
Scaffolding is a term you hear all the time in education, and yet sometimes it feels like we know more about what it looks like in a construction project than in the classroom. Like on a building, scaffolding is a temporary support structure. It supports students so they can better comprehend the material and build more complex skills than they would without help. You gradually take it away as they move toward independence. Here are 5 ways to build scaffolding into your practice to help your students reach new heights. Breaking a task down into manageable steps is an important part of scaffolding. But without a clear picture of their goal, students may struggle to achieve it. Share a model of an essay, a project, or a product so the steps of the process make more sense. When you show students the end game, they'll be able to better visualize what they are working toward. When students know exactly what you expect of them, they'll be more likely to successfully complete a task. Graphic organizers, charts, and to-do lists can help spell out the steps of an assignment and support the development of a student's executive functioning skills. Be sure to state your expectations for each chunk of the work clearly. It may help prevent a student from getting confused or overwhelmed and then giving up or falling behind. Demonstrating critical thinking skills helps students develop them. Verbalize the inner workings of your own brain with a think aloud, so students hear your thought process as you read a complex text, work on a task, or solve a problem. Sharing your struggles, triumphs, or even your mistakes will let them know that it's all part of the learning journey. Discussing challenging concepts or topics can be a great way for students to reflect on their learning and build on each other's understanding of the material. To encourage academic talk, provide students with sentence starters. It will help them get used to speaking with each other in a more formal way and help them stay on topic. If students don't understand enough of the material they're working with, they may quickly lose interest and feel defeated. Identify key words that will act like lifeboats during your lesson and have students work together to define them beforehand. Resist pulling out the dictionary though. Ask them to use pictures or context clues and discuss in small groups. Only resort to looking words up at the end to compare the definition they have worked out themselves. By providing a structure for each student to work from, you'll be meeting them where they are and setting up the launch pad they need to tackle new learning.
All right. So I hope that was a bit clearer. Now we've matched them all together correctly. So that's Jose and Yolanda's. Graphic organizers can help spell out, yeah. That's right. Identify keywords that looks like lifeboats. Students work to define them beforehand. So To encourage academic talk, provide students with sentence starters. Help them to get used to speaking. Providing a structure for each student to work from. You'll be meeting them where they are and setting up the launch pad. We saw that word earlier, didn't we? Launch pad. It's a way of getting started. Don't pull out the dictionary. Ask them to use pictures or context clues and discuss in small groups. Right. Right. Good job, everyone. Let's take a break now. When we come back after the break, we're going to be looking at graphic organizers and charts to help scaffold writing. Okay. And we're going to doing a bit we're going to be doing a bit of reading as well. Okay. Reading and considering how to use scaffolding in writing. Right? Using graphic organizers. Right, so let's take a break of 5 minutes. So you can go to the bathroom. We'll return at 18:32 actually, because it's going to be 27 past right now. Return, okay? Short break, so you feel refreshed. No problem, you can go ahead and speak in Spanish. So the question is, the authors believe that providing support frameworks to pupils for writing production is important. Why do you think they may say this? Pueden hablar en español, no hay problema. Think about it. Antes de leer. And then we're going to see if we're right. So why do you think the authors believe that providing support is important?
Para dar una guía a los estudiantes.
Right, that could be it. Yeah, let's note that down. So to provide a guide for the students. Yeah, that could be it, couldn't it? Provide a guide for students. Any other possible reasons? Maybe it could be to reduce anxiety, right? Because writing's very difficult, isn't it? Especially in a second language. So reducir ansiedad could be a reason, couldn't it? Any other possibilities? Writing is a complex skill. It involves lots of different sub-skills. So maybe it could be to, what's the word? Reduce the thinking. It's a burden, a peso, right? The burden. or we could just say the weight of thinking, because it requires a lot of thinking. Could be, right? So let's have a read and see. I want you to read quickly, a couple of minutes, just skim. Skim means reading quickly to see if we were right, all right? But don't worry, we're gonna have a second chance to read. We're gonna have a second chance to read more detailed. Right, so first time, quickly. Second time, you're gonna have more time. All right. So I'm gonna give you 2 minutes, and the question then is to answer. The authors believe that providing support frameworks to pupils for writing production is important. All right. Were any of these mentioned? Provide a guide for students, reduce anxiety, reduce the weight of thinking. Okay, I'm gonna time it. So you've only got like 2 minutes. Dead quick, very quickly. Were we correct? Starting right now. Here's the clock. All right. Well, no, you didn't have much time for that, but that was deliberate because it was skimming. Right, to see if we could find any of those ideas. So, were any of these ideas mentioned? We could put was reducing anxiety, was that mentioned in the text? Key says no, right? So I'm going to put an X. But do you think providing a guide for students was mentioned? I think that makes sense. I mean, if you look in the text, it says at least twice guide or guiding students, right? So I think that's correct. And also reducing the cognitive load was the thinking. Writing requires a lot of thinking, so sometimes we need to support them. Yeah. And if you look in the text, it says charts with notes, it says at one point, can be used to provide support in organizing writing, can reduce some of the cognitive load of writing texts. Because it's difficult, isn't it? Yeah. So we've got to use different graphic organizers. Okay, I want you to read again. I'll give you a bit longer this time. And I want you to choose true or false. Okay. You may have to read the text again closely. Okay. Leonardo, can you read statement A for us, please?
¿Cómo o no entendí, teacher?
Puedes leer statement A, starting with Venn diagrams.
Okay. Venn diagrams can be useful in helping pupils to analyze the information.
Good. Pupils are students, right? B, can you read B, please?
It's a good idea to have children talk through their ideas before getting them to write.
All right. Could you read C as well?
Writing requires children to think hard, so it's not necessary to provide charts with notes to help them organize their ideas.
Okay. Noel, could you read D, please?
Such scaffolding techniques and tools aren't required for older children.
Okay, so they're saying that it's not necessary for older children. Okay. E, please read E for us.
Children sorry, children tend to lose interest in writing if the writing task is too mechanical.
Very good. And F, please.
Older children need to be taught how text communicates message in real life.
Good. Okay, now I'm going to give you about 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes. I want you to try and answer these. Do you think they're true or false? You've got to go back in the text and check. All right. So I will set the clock for about 5 minutes. See if you can find the answers. See if they're true or false. 10 seconds left. And let's check our answers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're not sure, just guess. All right, so the first question was Venn diagrams. Are they a good way of helping students to analyze information? What do you think? True
I
or
think
false?
it's true.
It's true, yeah. And if
True.
we, yeah, if you're not sure what a Venn diagram looks like, let me just share one with you now. It's like two circles, isn't it? Like this. Yeah, so can you see diagram number 5 in the middle there? This one here. That is that's an example of a Venn diagram. Yeah. And it helps them to analyze information. Okay, so next question. It's a good idea to have children talk through their ideas before letting them write.
Is this true?
Yeah, because that helps them with the thinking. Yeah. It is a good idea. So writing requires children to think hard, so it's not necessary to provide charts with notes to help them organize their ideas.
Is it false?
It's false.
I think it's false.
Yeah. And the next one is older children, maybe at secondary school. Do they also need scaffolding techniques? So that's what the question is there. D. Is it true or false? Such scaffolding techniques and tools aren't required for older.
I think it's false.
Yeah, it's false. Yeah, you're right. And E. Children tend to lose interest in writing if the writing task is too mechanical.
It's true.
Yeah, that's true. Good. And older children need to be taught how texts communicate messages in real life. Think of your secondary schools children. They're going to need to be able to produce different texts like posters, advertisements, poems, plays, letters, menus, stories, factual accounts, instructions for making things. Yeah. So they need to have models, realistic models that they can copy. Right. So the answer there would be also true. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's have a look at these graphic organizers in a bit more detail. All right. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 examples of visual support tools on the sheet I've just shared you in the chat. And if you open it, you get this. This is what it looks like. Okay, so we've got to match them with their names. So which do you think is the grid or matrix? Any of these look like a grid or matrix? Matrice. Grid. I think number 4 is going to be the grid, right? Grid or matrix. Let's do it together. What about the Venn diagram? Oh, yeah, that's easy, isn't it? It's number 5. How about the flow chart?
Which one?
Flow chart. Which is the flow chart? Beginning with F. Flow. Flow chart. Is it?
3.
It's going to be 3, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. That's right. How about the tree diagram? This is quite useful for family trees, right? So that would be probably 6, right?
Yeah, it could be.
Dog, part of the family. Timeline.
Seven.
Yeah, because there's a time there in the morning, lunch in the afternoon, right? Bullseye chart. I think that's going to be number 2 because it's like an ojo de un toro, right? Like a target. But you've got different levels circulating outwards. So that is the bullseye chart. Graph. Is that 8 or 9, the graph? It's 8, isn't it? Graph. And the pie chart. It's either
9.
1
Sorry.
1 or 9, right? Which do you think?
Pie chart.
The pie chart, yes. It's come on, pie.
The 9.
Pie de manzana, yes. There we go. Chart of 9. And
No conocí el
finally,
nombre.
uh-huh.
Perdón. No
Ahora,
conocí el nombre de Bullseye chart.
ya, yo tampoco hasta completar este ejercicio. Tick chart, which one? It can only be number 1, right? We've only got one left. Tick chart.
Yeah.
Okay. Ah. Leonardo, I want you to choose one of these graphic organizers. ¿Cuál escogerías? If you had to use it with a class, with one of your classes.
I think the more simple for my students or for me.
Well, for your students.
Okay, I think the flowchart.
Flowchart, yeah. Well, that's good for biology, isn't it? Right? So, Leonardo, I want you to think about how you would use the flowchart, right? Okay, I'm going to give you a few minutes to make some notes, right? Not full sentences, unas notitas. How would you use it with a group? Con tu grupo, con tu clase. Noel. Oh, please choose one of these. ¿Cuál escogerías, Noel?
3 diagram.
Number 3?
No. Number 6.
Number 6. Number 6. Okay, yes, all right. So that's an interesting one. Noel. Okay, I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes to think about it. Okay, and después de 2 minutos, voy a decir stop, and I want you to tell us how you would use it, how you would adapt it, adaptarlo, or utilizarlo como tal. Okay, it's your choice. Adaptar o utilizarlo sin modificación. All right, so I'm going to give you about 2 minutes just to think, and stop the clock, and then you can. Puedes hablar en español, no hay problema, okay? Starting now. Let's talk about it then, shall we? How about we begin with Leonardo? Can you tell us a bit about how you would use the flowchart?
Okay, well,
flowchart.
Okay, well, I'm use already the flowchart with my students in the in biology with the biogeochemical cycles,
Mhm.
and they understand about that, like water cycle, carbon cycle, and they understand like a change in her environment.
Uh-huh.
And I think the most easy example can be the cycle of life
Mhm.
with the born, growth, and reproduce. How do you say reproducir?
Mhm. Reproduce, yeah.
Reproduce, and the finally death.
Mm. Yeah, it's very good for biological concepts, isn't it? Yeah. So you can into the English class you can bring biological these
In the
biological
English
terms.
class
Yeah.
can be improved, like I don't know the actions that he or she do in the day.
Mm.
Well, the first I wake up, I
Mm.
take the lunch, I go to the gym to do exercise,
Uh-huh.
and well, activities like the normal life.
With that as well, but yeah, but it's also good for teaching biological concepts in English, right? So puedes enseñar varios conceptos biológicos a través del inglés. ¿No? Este se llama CLIL, Content and Language Integrated Learning. ¿No? Entonces estás integrando materias del currículum in inglés. Perfecto. Noel, can you tell us about the tree diagram?
Clase de inglés. Los padres de su familia y tanto su familia como el presidente de la y sobre pudiera alguna hora no se explica
Oh dear, looks like we've lost Noel. No captamos mucho de el dijo. Never mind. Yeah, but it would be, I think it would be useful for teaching relationships, wouldn't it? Within a family relationships, even friends relationships. Yes, thank you, Leonardo. And then there were one. There's only one of us left. Good. Wow, we don't have very much time left. I think we've got about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. So there's one thing I'd like to do is just to give you a little test on the some of this terminology from today. Okay. Now, are you familiar with the TKT? ¿Conoces más o menos qué es TKT?
No, no lo había escuchado.
Leonardo? Es un examen que ofrece Cambridge, but es útil para los maestros que tienen que impartir clases con niños y niños más grandes. Okay. So here you'll notice that we have these all these terms from today's session: reformulating, prompting, echo correcting, defining, giving an example, demonstrating, ignoring an error, and asking an open question. Okay. We looked at those earlier, didn't we? Okay. So what you have to do is match A to the teacher classroom language 1 to 7. And there's one extra option you do not need to use. Okay. Now on the TKT exam, they give you like 1 minute for each question. I'm just going to give you 6 to make you work a bit faster on this. Okay. But we'll do the first one as an example. Okay. So what does the child says? What does
the first one?
Yeah, so the child says, what does animal mean? And the teacher says, cats and horses are animals. Welcome back, Noel. Sé que tienes problemas con tu recepción. No te preocupes. Vamos a hacer este little test on conceptos, and then we're going to finish. All right. So, this first one, what does animals mean? The child says. What does animal mean? Teacher says cats and horses are animals. So what is that? Is it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or H? You can type your answer in the chat.
Can you give it back to him, please? Last Saturday, my auntie take me to the cinema.
No, let's just do number 1 first. Which one is it?
A.
It's giving an example. Yeah. So he's giving the example of cats and horses. Those are examples of animals, right? So in answer to the kid's question, what does animal mean? He gives an example. So it's E. All right. A. So number 1 is A. Okay. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do the remaining questions.
This Martin's pen, okay. Well,
Okay, it's on the worksheet I showed you earlier. It's página 3 y 4, página 4, I think. 4, yes. So we don't have much time, so I'll give you about 5 minutes.
What's an insect? It's an animal with 6 legs.
Okay.
If you're ready, you can put your answers in the chat.
Ah, lo siento, no se marcó como que ya le había puesto las letras.
All right, so we're done. Just about. Let's just check the answers then. So child says this Martin's pen. There's an error there, right? It should be this is Martin's pen. Teacher says, okay, well, you can give it back to him, please. So what is that? Is that A, B, C, D, E, or F? It's you think it's H. No, it's not H. No, it's not H. No, it's, I'll have to give you the answer because time's running on. It's ignoring an error, G. And number 3, child says, last Saturday my auntie take me to the cinema. And so there's is indicating that there is an error by echoing the mistake. So it's take. And the answer is C, echo correcting. Number 4 is F. Sorry, I don't understand. Put your chair like this, then you can't see Sam's picture. And the answer is demonstrating. Number 5, this dinosaur is more big. 5A is reformulating. Reformulating, yeah. It's like giving the correct answer as a model. Number 6 is what? The earlier one was an example, wasn't it? But this is not an example. It's a d. Number 6 is definition. Right? And finally, H, asking an open question, isn't it? No, it's not. 7. I can't remember the name of the color. Teacher, per. What could that be? Prompting, yes. Yeah. So you give like the first couple of letters and the students complete. Yeah? So those are all examples of scaffolding language in the classroom. All right, so on your platform, you can see this is the work that you're going to be doing on scaffolding. And so there'll be an introduction using first language. And you'll see that there's some of these, there's some of the terminology that we've encountered today. Also, graphic organizers are mentioned. So you'll see more on Venn diagrams. And back to personalization. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's session, found it useful. And we're just about ready to finish. Do you have any dudas or preguntas?
Acerca de las sesiones de la plataforma, se tienen que terminar ¿en qué fecha?
Let me just check. A ver si tengo esa información. Yo creo que tienen un par de semanas más, ¿eh? Voy checando entre los correos. Creo que no hay tanto prisa para terminar. Ah, ya, sí. Dice Proni course aquí. Tienen hasta el 16 de febrero de terminar. Ok. Suerte. Y buenas
Muchas
noches.
gracias.
Thank you,
Gracias.
teacher. Good night.
This is going to be available on the platform as well. Voy a poner este video. Ok.
¿La grabación entonces se encuentra en la plataforma?
Sí.
Ok.
Buenas noches.
Bueno, profe, gracias.